intro. So all I'm going to say is learn more about Jeff. He's a really cool guy. I'm going to give you 3 places where you could meet Jeff a little bit better than here. One is corporaterecess.ca. That's his company website where you figure it out, Corporate Recess. 2, Vicarious Diaries. That's what it is, which is my favorite. I love what he says. He's got a brilliant podcast. And 3, momondays.com/Barrie. And you notice I say Barrie like a real Barrian? I say Barrie. But you know, I'm from Montreal. We say Barrie. Doesn't matter. So you've been running Mo Mondays now for 10 months. I know Emilie and Cassidy are on the floor killing themselves watching this because Emily's our speaker who's going to be coming on soon. We went through an hour of tech testing, and Cassidy too, and we put them through the ringer to make sure the lighting is good, make sure your sound is good. Foiled by a loose USB connection. All right, Jeff.
Michel Asaurus.
Jeffosaurus. You've been running Mo Mondays for 10 months. You know, we get all kinds of speakers on the Mo Mondays stage. We get speakers who have spoken on hundreds of stages before. They're professional speakers. Sometimes we get stand-up comics who have done a lot of stand-up comedy on multiple stages, which is probably the hardest of all the spoken word performance arts. Stand-up comedy is it. I bow down to them. But we also have people who have never shared a story before in their lives. And we also get musicians. Some musicians have been on hundreds, if not thousands of stages. Of course, what happens is you get a musician who's really comfortable with being on stage playing their music, and you say, share a personal story, and you know it's a whole other ballgame, right? You've seen that.
Absolutely.
Okay, tell me what's some of the, and some of the stories are funny, some of the stories are intense, some of the stories are sad. You get such a variety of stories. Tell me one that kind of like sticks out in your head that had a big impact on the audience.
That had a big impact on the audience. Can I say Emilie's story or?
Well, you can. So.
I mean, yeah, there's always something for everybody at Mo Mondays, and that's what I love is you get 5 or 6 speakers, and I mean, I can tell you a couple stories, like for instance, Emilie's, or another adventure story about going up in a hot air balloon.
I remember that one.
The impact is just really like you're watching a movie and you kind of leave your seat and you're on the raft with Emilie, or you're up in the hot air balloon looking at all the tiny people below, and it's you really get lost in the stories, and it's so beautiful, and like I said, it's such a cool perspective. So impact, like sometimes there were stories where we had a really wild one about a lady who was talking about being a death doula, and she was talking about spiritually being able to talk to people who had passed on. And after the show, I had people going up to her and talking about their past relatives. We had a lady who was talking about her journey with understanding the moon, and everybody went and talked to her after the show and wanted to learn about their moon phases. We had a guy, one of my favorite speakers, and he was really intense, and he, in such a beautiful way, he had said sometimes in a really tragic situation, words cannot express how sorry you are for someone, and all you need to do is just give the person a hug. And when I switched with him as the MC, I told everybody to stand up. And I've done that multiple times after maybe a sad story, and just told everyone in the audience to give each other a hug. And I sort of stole that from you because I was at your show one time and you did that, and you said, I can't use that all the time.
Yeah, I reserve that maybe once every 8 months. Not more than that. If you do that more than that, it becomes,
strangers hugging from Canada, it's not a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one of the funniest Mo Monday stories that you've ever had on your stage?
Funniest. These are secret questions. You didn't tell me these
I
questions.
didn't. I know. I didn't prepare you for that one.
Okay, funniest. One of our most recent shows, we had W.T. Hamilton.
Oh, he's wonderful from London. We love him. He's trying. He's going for the record, by the way, of having spoken in more Mo Mondays than anyone. But he's in competition with a few other people.
Yeah, he was talking about perfection, and another lady actually at Mo Mondays had a story on perfection, and they were both really funny. And they were WT was talking about when you're picking a cover for
Thank you, Alexandre.
When you're picking a cover for your book and you're trying to decide what font, and there's just a million fonts. Like, why are there a million fonts? Because it just drives you crazy. And same with the other speaker, a good friend of my family. She was talking about how we all have to-do lists, and we even have like little bucket lists on our to-do list, and just endless to-do lists that just go on and on and on. But yeah, good laughs. Yeah, you put me on the spot. But...
Okay. Have you ever had somebody come up to you, or not right after, but maybe a week after or a month after, and they said to you, because of this, I made this change in my life?
One of my favorite stories from a Mo Mondays performance is my DJ from the beginning. He's a good friend of mine who I went to high school with. And throughout the first 4 or 5 months, he's played shows and played open mics. He's played guitar since he's 5, 6 years old. And I always asked him, like, you should play on my stage. And like you had said, it's different playing on a Mo Mondays. It's really intimate. And so I kept asking him, and he'd written some new songs. And I said, well, why don't I come over, you play one of your songs, I'll play one of my songs, and we'll pretend we're on stage, because I wanted to play some songs on stage too. And I went over there, and he played his song in front of me as if he was on stage, and it was so vulnerable. Like, he just gave it all. And even though I was right in front of him, and it was a moment where I said, wow, I mean, that's what you have to do if you want to play on stage, you know? And then I did the same thing. And he ended up playing on my final show, and it was really beautiful because he knows my dad, and he's played guitar with my dad. And my dad made it to the show, and he played on stage, and he told me afterwards that he was really inspired from taking the stage and doing something different, and how I relied on him to be there for that show. And he did so well. He was a professional. He was funny on stage. And he said it inspired him to get his act together and to write more songs. And it was a big growing experience for him. And to finish the story, he inspired me too, because later on I went to do an audition with 4 judges in front of me for this Barrie music gig. And, you know, I had the confidence because I played in front of him. And so it was a really beautiful full circle story.
Oh, and Sharon says, that was a beautiful night.
Thank you, Sharon.
So one of the things in moTV, it is funny because this is the 3rd episode. You would think that we get all the tech issues handled by the 3rd episode, but this has probably been the most tech issue ridden episode of all of the 3 so far. But don't worry, we'll get there. We'll do it. Now, I ask every moHost who comes on the show, I say, pick one of your favorite storytellers that you've had on your stage. And I have to say, it's one of the most unfair questions that I could possibly ask. That's like asking a parent, which one of your children is your favorite? It's really hard. So for all of you who have been on the Mo Monday stage and you're wondering, why didn't he pick me? Well, let me just tell you, it's about as unfair as you can possibly expect to ask. So he's narrowed it down to a few, and he narrowed it down to one, Emilie Pavey, who talked about getting thrown from her raft in the Zambezi River somewhere in Africa. What was it about that one?
I loved how Emilie spoke with such a flow to her story. She had a really good pace to her story, and different from when I talk, I speak really fast. So I admired the pace. And I really felt engaged. It was an adventure story, something that we kind of lose as adults. And after she stepped off stage and I went up, I kind of just asked, like, was that a real story? And I was blown away. And I asked the audience, like, who else was on the raft? Because I was there, and everyone put their hand up, and it was really beautiful. So I've watched her story 4 or 5 times, and you get to watch a part of it right now.
Well, let's play. We've got a 2-minute clip from that, and if all goes according to plan, you'll see her, you'll hear her, and the audio will be good, and the video will be good. But if not, do me a favor. Please put a comment in to make sure that we're all good. Okay, you ready? Emilie Pavey with her video, and what's the name of it?
Washed Away.
Away. Oh, if all goes according to plan, right?
When my sister Lila stands immediately, frantically, she demands to know where I am. Madame, sit down. It's okay, it's gonna be okay. The kayakers that are thankfully trailing behind us will send them. Meanwhile, I had been washed away. A completely different experience entirely. Even if I were to survive the level 5 rapids down the Zambezi, I would not survive what was waiting at the end. Crocodiles, hippopotamus, and the surrounding land that was lions, scorpions, and poisonous snakes. This was it. I knew what was happening. I'd be washed away down the Zambezi River forever. Whoosh! I'm yanked up by the collar of my life jacket and tossed against a hard surface. It's the kayaker. He and I skillfully maneuver my legs and wrap them around the nose of the kayak. It's like we knew what to do right away. And I hold on to a rope. I'm moving through the rapids on a kayak, upside down, moving backwards, desperately trying to keep my head above the water. I feel much safer than I did. However, we're not out of the clear. We still have to get through. He had the kindest, warmest smile that shone through his eyes. That was all I could see. It was then, looking in his eyes, that I knew I would be okay. The water began to slow and settle. I could see and I could breathe. I am alive.
We have got Emilie with us. The
Hello?
tech worked. It just took me an extra second to press the right button. Emilie, welcome to moTV.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really pleased to be here. So thank you.
So everybody just watched 2-minute clip of your story, Washed Away. Was that the first time you told that story?
Yes. I mean, I described the story, but in full detail from start to finish.
It was the first time that you performed it on a stage.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. Did your understanding of your own story change as you were getting ready to share it?
It did, actually, because it was such a personally profound experience. Like, it was a near-death experience for me. So for me to be able to retell that story meant I had to put myself physically, emotionally, spiritually back into that experience, which for me, in doing that and in breaking down the story to tell it and to make sure it was something that everyone could listen to, in doing that, it actually underlined what the experience actually meant and what the life lessons I learned through that experience were. So it just, for me to retell it, it underlined the perspective that experience gave me.
All right. So, and I want to ask you more about it, but I need to pause on this point. It is such a cool thing what you just said. I know that when I ask people or somebody says to me, hey, I'll share a story at momondays, if they've never shared it before, everybody thinks they know their story. Or some people say, yeah, I know my story. Everybody thinks they know their story. So before they actually, don't worry, I know my story. And that describes you too, probably, right? That's what you're just telling me.
Yes.
And yet, talk to me about the process of working on your story and how, like, just somewhere in there, what is it, like when you're writing it out, or like what are the epiphanies that happen as you're, like you say, I'm going to be I've got to fit this in 10 minutes. I got to write it out. I got to work on it. I got to craft it. It's more than just doing it from memory. What's that like? Like, were you in your room working on it when all of a sudden, poof?
It is definitely a process, and it's much more challenging than what you think. To be able to not just tell your story, but tell it to a point that engages the audience and make sure that it gets the points across that are the most profound points. It takes time to think of that and to describe it. So how I did it was I knew the experience. I chose the adventure story because it was a profound experience for me. And I also wanted it to be something people could have a vicarious experience along with me. So that's how I started. I chose something I knew that people would be able to experience along with me. And then in creating it, I just first started by verbalizing it. So saying it out loud and then breaking down the points that stood out to me personally the most. And I had to kind of slow myself down.
So how many points did you kind of narrow it down to?
Well, it's about choosing what points you focus in on. So there was a good 10 to 15 structured points of this is where I'm going to focus the energy, and especially putting those pauses in and making it more of an experience meant slowing it down so that you could feel it. Wasn't just me standing up there saying it and repeating it. It was structured in a way so that you could feel.
So what is the end takeaway of the whole experience?
The end takeaway is a profound one. momondays and just getting up on that stage and sharing a story is a very empowering feeling. One, to stand up there in front of people and know that you're part of a community. It creates a community as well. You're part of a community. You're connecting people. It's a human experience. So having that experience has changed me for sure. It's empowered me to take more risks and to put myself out there. It's also changed me in a way that it has connected me to people that are now lifelong friends. I've connected interesting people. Yeah, lifelong friends. I've got a solid group, and it was actually through momondays and watching it and experiencing it that gave me the courage to do it. And then once I did it, it just opened things up for me personally. So it was a wonderful, profound, life-changing experience for me. So,
and if you had to sum up the wisdom from that experience, not the experience of having spoken at momondays, the experience of you getting swept away on in the Zambezi River. That experience, if you had to sum the wisdom up, the takeaway from that experience, what would it be?
So life, it's about the perspective of life and what actually matters, especially in a time like right now and what our world is experiencing. You know, be present, be in the moment, what actually matters, and connect with those people, be with those people, make moments, make memories, and make the most of your time.
So when you started working on your talk, was that crystallized for you? No. Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, you see, isn't that funny, huh?
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say people think they know their story. You know, I'm doing a workshop tomorrow on storytelling, and one of the things I'm doing is I'm talking about how, wouldn't it be nice if you could begin with the end in mind? Famous last words. Oh, I got to remember that. That's clever. Sometimes I'm proud of myself. Sorry. But you know, everybody, it's like one of these things that everybody says so easily. It's like a facile thing to say, begin with the end in mind. But storytelling from when you're dealing with a profound experience doesn't work that way. Sometimes you got to work on telling the story before you really know what that end is.
100%. Yeah.
What did you think the kernel of the wisdom was before you started working on it?
I think the message I was hoping to get across was, you know, it was similar, but not to the depth.
As crystal.
Yeah, not to the same depth. So I want it to be, I did want it to be impactful, and I wanted it to be, you know, go into situations with an open mind, and, you know, don't, you know, life is short, and make the most of it. That was kind of the message I was going for. But again, the depth and the clarity that came afterward from one going through the experience and talking about it, for me, clarified, you know, my perspective on life. And that's really what it was. It was
powerful,
a near-death experience.
Yeah,
it was
powerful.
Very powerful, yeah.
All right, let's bring Jeff back in. Jeff, come on back in. There he is. Hey, before you were at the top and now you're at the bottom of the screen. Would you agree with Emilie that you got that from her talk? It's just about what's important in life.
Yeah. She had a couple small messages, like about when you ate that meal at the end, and in the part we watched when you said, "I am alive," and those moments that make you feel alive, whether it's an adventure, a near-death experience, or something simple with your family. Those are the moments that just kind of connect you. And I wanted to ask you just really quickly, that part when you go whoosh, like, and that's a poetic, I can't even say the word, onomatopoeia. Like, did you do that on purpose? Or that's just what sound?
It was purposeful, for sure. And I think it was more about, again, the vicarious experience and putting yourself, being there, hearing the sounds, and kind of, it helps you visualize it more, right? So I think that's where that was coming from, is that I wanted you to be able to experience it. I wanted the listeners to be part of it, to hear it, to see it, to be fully into it.
All right, listen, we got to move on. We you know, music is a big part of Mo Mondays. And I got to tell you, that wasn't even my idea. It was like, you know, we improve Mo Mondays. Every new moHost that comes on brings their own personality, their own ideas, their innovation, creativity. And about 5 years ago, Stephanie in Winnipeg said, I want to bring a musician on. And I said, oh, are you sure? You won't detract? And she said, yeah, I want to bring a musician on. I said, like, she brought me, and then I got to tell you, this is the most brilliant thing we ever did. Because musicians are storytellers. They do it in a different way. They raise the entertainment level. They change the energy in the room like that with music. And it is such a powerful experience to have a musician as one of the speakers in the story. And we're going to talk to Cassidy about what's different about momondays, performing at momondays versus anybody else. But why did I ask you? And again, it's asking a moHost, which musician do you want on moTV? It's like, which child do you love the most? And no, by the way, one of the people wrote in the message says, some parents do have a favorite child, they just never admit it. Whoosh. But we are our parents' favorite children. Would you agree with that? Of course. Why'd you pick Cassidy?
Cassidy is a very cool young woman, and she plays electric guitar and acoustic guitar, which I don't think you see a lot of females playing guitar and singing, especially electric guitar. So we met last summer. She spontaneously came to my show. She was walking on the street with a really good friend of mine, an old friend of mine, and they're super fun, and she was supposed to play on the next live show. So I thought I'd give her an opportunity to play on this show. She's
well,
really
let's bring her on. Cassidy, let's see you. Put yourself off mute. Hey, there you are. You've been listening. You've been listening to all of this. You've been listening to Emilie share her story. You've been listening to Jeffosaurus share how he started, done 10 months of momondays. You probably heard, you didn't hear much of me. Or you heard, or either
I heard everything.
You heard everything because you heard me say it 3 or 4 times. Right, I got it. So you were supposed to perform on the Mo Monday stage this month.
Yeah, I was.
After listening to Emilie, you're probably more disappointed than ever.
Yeah, I really wish.
What was it like when you went to your first Mo Mondays? You, as Jeff was saying, you were walking on the street, and you impulsively said, "Let's go in."
It was really crazy how we even ended up walking in to that place. Me and a friend of mine, Jace, shout out Jace. We were walking down the street just like looking for a place to eat or whatever. And we drove by this burger place and we were like, yeah, that looks neat. And we kept going. And then we turned around and came back. And then we had iced coffees or something from McDonald's. So we didn't want to go in with outside food. So we just waited. And then a lady walked out and walked up to us. And it was Kat who was speaking at the Mo Monday show. And she was like, hey, who are you? Hi, I'm Kat. I'm a medium. Can I talk to you guys?
I'm a medium. Can I talk? You okay? Is that what she said?
Cool. Great. Awesome. So she gave me and my friend a little reading and gave us a little bit about ourselves and a little bit about what we are to each other and stuff. It was wild. So we were like, okay, well, we got to go in now. And then, so we went in, and then Jeff is friends with Jace, and they were like, oh my gosh, it's you. And then it was really weird how everything all
big community and a tight community. Barrie, one of the things that I so admire with Jeff, let me just tell you a little backstory about Jeff. He called me up out of the blue, says, I think I want to host Mo Mondays. And, I put people through hoops. I don't want, just anybody hosting Mo Mondays. Yeah, all right. I said, okay, you got to fill out all these forms. You got to come down to Toronto, and I got to meet you in person. I don't do that for everybody. I just, people within driving distance. And we'll see if you like it. And half the time, they don't show up or whatever. That's fine. That's okay. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Jeff shows up. He fills out the forms. He does all the legwork. And I say, yeah, okay. Well, he's young. I don't know what he knows. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience, but let's give him a try. And Jeff, I got it. It's not that I wasn't expecting much. It's just that I really didn't know what to expect. And he blows me away every time he does a show. Because I see the videos of every show. Blows me away with his choice of musicians. Blows me away with his choice of speakers, blows me away with how he intros and outros the show, the energy he's got with his dancing and all that stuff, and going back to the musician, always has great musicians. So when I asked him to recommend a musician for moTV, he said, Cassidy, I said, of course. I wouldn't even question that. What are some of your musical influences?
Oh, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh, come on. You're too young for that.
Number one, no such thing as too young for music. That's not allowed.
Oh.
That's not a thing. I really like The Clash. I really like
Boing, boing, boing. We're going back to my youth here, you know. Green Day. I see a Green Day poster in the back.
Yep, that's definitely one of them. Blackberry Smoke is really big. Jason Isbell, Sturgill Simpson. But I don't know, probably one person in there that you guys... Bob Dylan.
Everybody loves Bob Dylan. There you go. Everybody loves. So you're going to play a song for us, right? You got it on video to get the sound right, and we're going to hear it right now. And then when we come back, I want to hear the backstory to this song. Is that cool?
Awesome.
Let's see if this works. Wrong button.
When my sister Lila stands me.
There we go.
Oh, this next story.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I don't know a thing. The way I feel, I really can't explain. And you keep
All right. So that was cool. What's the name of that song?
That song is called Ridicule. Ridicule.
Ridicule. What's the key phrase in the song, the key lyric?
That I don't need ridicule, I just need some advice.
So it sounds like there's a backstory to this song.
Yeah, a little bit. So let's get into it. Last summer, I was home from school. Shout out Durham College. Shout out all my profs. Anyway, I was out at school. I came home for the summer, and I was just working and not really doing a lot of musical things, which is, it was okay because I go to school and do musical things at school. So I came home to make money, and that's what I was doing, making money. So I'm getting fired up just telling it right now. Oh my gosh. So my dad comes over and he goes, "Hey Cass, like, hey man, you haven't been writing many songs." And he called me out on it, and he was right. He totally was right, because I wasn't writing anything. And he goes, "You're not writing a lot of songs." And I went, "I'm not writing enough songs, you say? Oh, you think I'm not writing blah, da, 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 da." So I went to the basement and wrote that song and showed it to him in the same night, I think, maybe, and was like,
"So there.
Yeah, that's it.
Take that, Dad." Yeah, right. But if he hadn't gotten on your ass, you wouldn't have done it.
Exactly. So that's a lesson in itself.
That's cool. Love the song. I love the tempo. Love the groove. Love the vibe. And yeah, and it's a good message. I don't need ridicule. I just need some advice. God.
Taking or
Say that?
Taking or giving. You don't have to give ridicule. You can just give some advice too.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's bring Jeff and Emilie back. Jeff, Emilie.
Jeff's here.
Where is he? I don't see him.
I'm on stage.
Start your video, man.
Get it together.
There you go. All right. Well, this has been a journey. The last hour. Starting with a few tech issues. But, Jeff, you've been now running momondays for 10 months. Has there ever been a time when it ran flawlessly?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Good.
No,
so I've got something to look forward to.
Yeah, most of them. Most of them were, other than the first few shows that were at a smaller venue.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like just paying attention to people arriving, more chairs. But after that, like we had my favorite night, most people we had, every story was about like triumph and adventure and just, yeah, they're all flawless. I mean, yeah, what a stupid answer. They're all flawless.
Because whatever happens, right?
Yeah.
And you learn to live with it.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't get to say everything. You say new things.
And you say new things. Absolutely. Cool. Well, I want to thank you three for being on the show.
Thank you.
And what's one thing you're going to do? What's one thing you're going to do? I'm just making this up as I go along here, right? So what's one thing that you want to have accomplished while we're in lockdown? And then what is one thing you want to do when we're out of it? Emilie, you first.
What do I want to accomplish while in lockdown?
And it could be just taking a rest. There's no pressure here.
No, I am on kind of a mission right now to spread the word of movement and well-being. And I'm on a mission to kind of share that message with the world. So that's what I'd like to accomplish, is inspiring as many people as I can to move while they can, because it's the best thing they can do for themselves. So that's my mission. And that's what I'm doing in lockdown.
And what are you going to do? First thing you're going to do not first thing you're going to do, but what are you going to do when we get out?
Hug everyone, just that physical contact again, and people who, have supported me and are important to me, and just go and embrace people and make that connection.
You know what? I went for a walk today, and I saw these two women from across the street, and they were doing this. Hang on, I got to do it. And so it shows you how much we need this. Can't put a good hug down. Cassidy, what do you got going while we're in lockdown?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, oh my. Nothing. Well, actually, I just got a recording all set up.
For this?
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
Going well.
Gonna put all my ducks in a row and get some music out.
We want to hear more from you. Where can people hear about you and more of your music? Oh, I should have asked Emilie this too. So we'll go back to you, Emilie. Where can they hear more? Are you on SoundCloud? Are you on Spotify? Or are you on, where are you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook right now. And
what do they search for on Instagram?
Wellness Warrior Coach. The name's in my screen there. And every Wednesday morning, I'm giving out free live workouts. And again, it's just to encourage and spread all over the world. So
cool.
Get up and move.
Yeah, cool.
Wellness Warrior Coach, Wednesday mornings. It's 9 a.m. in Barrie time. But again, I've got connections all over the world. So get up and move, guys.
Probably people along the Zambezi River.
You got it.
Cassidy, where can people hear more about you?
People can follow my Instagram.
What is it?
Cassidy Jane Music. And
Cassidy Jane Music.
Facebook is the same thing. Cassidy Jane blah 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 blah. Cassidy Jane Music. What else? I don't really have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. YouTube as well. Cassidy Jane. I think that's all that is. And you can find me on Spotify as well. Just Cassidy Jane. I have a single out right now. It's called Breathe Again.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there right after this. Jeffosaurus, thank you for bringing these two wonderful people on the show. This is amazing. What do you want? What one thing you want to get done while you're in isolation here?
One thing I want to get done is, depends how long isolation is for. Maybe get my dad walking. That would be pretty cool.
I know you've been doing such an awesome job taking care of him.
He's watching right now with my mom, and so shout out to those folks because they're amazing. And then when take a little vacation with the family in isolation and play darts and just keep playing brain games and stuff. And when I get out of isolation, I am definitely going to go to choir, which I love. Brett Caswell's community choir. I can't speak enough about it because it's so helpful for singing. And
it is all speaking. Choir. Awesome. So I'm going to tell this to everybody who's listening. Jeff, I loved your talk when you spoke on the momondays Toronto stage. And there's a line that you said near the end that I will never forget. I just love it, love it, love it. You said, keep climbing that mountain. There's a beer waiting for you. There's a beer waiting for you at the top. So with that, I want to just thank everybody for hanging in this evening and listening to this. And this has been great. You can watch that and listen to that video that Jeff did. It's in the Most Stories tab on the momondays.com website. Highly recommend it. I think it's fantastic. You can also watch Emilie's video in the momondays.com/Barrie page. Scroll through a bunch of those. And that's it. So thank you for another great episode of moTV. We're going to be back next week. We are going to Guelph